Billiken fans, another episode of the Midtown Madness podcast with Peter Hale and Zach Miller. I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, Peter Hale. Pete, we have a lot to get into. We have an interview, a short form interview for our listeners that was really great.
Yeah, it really was. I think everyone's really going to like that. So definitely hang around for that. Which I think, we're going to put that in the middle of the show here.
Yep, we're going to get over to that after we discuss a few items that, on a macro level involve the athletic department. And that interviews with CJ Moore of The Athletic, who wrote a absolutely beautiful article about our good friend and our good friend Ford Stuen. So, just a great article and a great chat with CJ Moore. But first, we have a lot of athletic department centric news to get to. First of all, the biggest news in a while, as far as athletic department advancement, the O'Laughlin Family Champions Center.
You got it.
$20 million project, 100% privately raised. There were some people on Facebook very angry that money was not earmarked for dorms and whatnot for regular students. But guys, privately raised, 22,000 square feet, opening in May 23. Pete, you were all over this on Twitter. What was your initial reaction? You got to watch the press conference. I unfortunately was unable to really tune in. What did you think of the press conference, first of all?
It was a really nice event. I know a lot of people said, like, it seems excessive to have the little teaser that they did a week ahead of time and, announcing the event itself, and maybe the event itself was too big, but it's just kind of how things are done now. Number one, like you said, it's 100% privately raised. So you've got these donors who you want to slap on the back for all their help in getting this done. And it's just kind of it's a statement, it's a little hype. So I don't mind it at all. I thought it was a really nicely done event. They had a really nice kind of overview / hype video narrated by Joe Buck. And Scott Highmark was the MC of the event itself, which was about an hour. As we had said before with Chapley on here last week, it wasn't a well-kept secret. We kind of knew what was coming. So I didn't think this was going to be like a Big East announcement or anything like that. I mean, we knew this was a facility. We just didn't know what it was going to look like or anything like that. And it's really impressive. So coming in on it later, what did you think when you saw it all?
I'm excited for it. I spoke with former Billikens and just kind of asked them, like, is this something that would, and even people that didn't go to SLU that were in college athletics, is this something that would entice you to go, that would make you consider SLU? And I think the resounding opinion was yes. I want to say that to the critics out there of the announcement and it not being the Big East, look, I can't understand that. I can't understand your issue. What I can understand is on one part of this whole saga, I guess we'll call it. The teaser tweet was 100% meant to give you kind of an air of Big Eastness. Like it truly was written. I think I called it Team Blue Balls. It really truly was. And I will critique that. I will say that's the one thing you can be critical of. If they're teasing the announcement, that's fine. But there was one part that really did give off the idea that it could be something different. So that's, I think, the one part that you can look at and say, maybe you do it a little bit differently. However, when you announce a $20 million facility that's going to basically put you, up with the upper echelon of NCAA programs, that's a big damn deal.
It is. I mean, the announcement wasn't we're going to the Big East, but the announcement was like, hey, Big East, look what we're doing. You know, we're serious. And if it's not the Big East, it's like, if we're just going to become the premier program in all sports in the Athletic 10, that's a pretty good fate as well.
It's not
It,
bad.
no, yeah. You know, I was so watching in YouTube. There were like, you see the comments scroll during the video, and there was some people were being positive and everything, but there was definitely some negativity in there as well, and I didn't really get it. I mean, I think some people are just not going to be happy no matter what it is. We talked about this a little bit before. This is not something that directly serves fans. It's
Mhm.
not it's not, you know, it's not for them. They're not going to be hanging out in there. I don't, probably not even going to be able to get in. And it's just not, it's not for them. You know, it's not a new facility for a team that you come watch. It wasn't a
Yeah.
big conference announcement. It wasn't anything like that that directly serves the fans. What it is it's going to indirectly impact fans, and that it's going to make the program better. The caliber of recruits that we're going to land is going to be in all sports. It will go up because this is a difference maker. You know, like I think one of the things we said that day on Twitter was, if you're a coach or an athlete, you spend every day here. You know,
Mhm.
you're gonna be spending more time in this facility than probably any other room on campus except your own dorm room. So when you've got everything that a student athlete could possibly need in one place, that really makes a huge difference in their day-to-day experience. That goes from basketball, you know, all the way down through all programs. So this is a huge deal, and I hope over time fans can kind of appreciate what that means.
Yeah, it's certainly, I think you don't see it. It's not something the fans can physically touch, and it's not necessarily even that it's not a new facility that fans can go into. It's almost like a back end, like you said, it's God. I'm having trouble kind of figuring out, but it's like uh, this is a stepping stone to getting better, right? It's not. It's the dirty work. It's a beautiful facility, but it's the dirty work you have to do to get that beautiful product you see on the soccer field, the basketball court, all these other fields of play. So it's a pedestal on which we can put our programs on. So I think in a lot of ways this will have a trickle down effect, and fans will see it. Not maybe not even in 2023, maybe 24, 25, 26, up into 2030. Oh my God, where is time going? Um, but yeah, it's very exciting. It's you're going to have a student success suite, performance nutrition center, team dining suite, basketball ops suite, soccer ops suite, student athlete development program, and technology suites. That's a lot of stuff. The team dining suite is one thing that I'm interested in, because I do remember a lot of times when working with the volleyball team that, uh, you know, you would kind of eat at these, like, kind of shoddy tables at the end of the hallway, right? Like it's not a specific area meant for eating. It's just kind of almost like a break room of sorts. So anything that can elevate those kind of areas and make student athletes feel more comfortable and want to spend time in Chaifetz Arena, because at the end of the day, that's what you want.
Yeah, Katie Shields talked about really missing it during the pandemic, really missing out on that camaraderie. That's like, you know, she said that's just her favorite thing is just being together as a team. And this sort of incentivizes that. It naturally kind of gets them all to go to the same place, gives them spaces to hang out together. They've got every athlete on campus has, you know, their own nutrition program or whatever, and this is completely suited for that. Athletes can kind of pop in and get whatever they need throughout the day. In addition to having those kind of team meals together, there's a lot here, a lot of little things that we as fans, as outsiders, as non-athletes, that we wouldn't necessarily think of. But they put a lot of thought into this thing, and I think it will pay dividends in the long run. I just think about all the recruits who are looking at SLU and some other schools, maybe in our conference, maybe in the region, whatever, and nobody else in our conference has anything like this. You pretty much have to go to a football school to see other things like this, and then if you do that, well, it's all about football at those schools too. For example, a men's basketball recruit could come to SLU, and it's like, not only do you have this facility here, you're the number one program on campus. So I just think it's as recruits are making their kind of pros and cons lists of every school they saw, this is a really big thing to put in the pro column for all of them.
Yeah, it's kind of I think what I was getting at earlier is it's sexy, but it's not sexy, right? Like it looks sexy, but it's not a sexy piece of campus, right? Like
Well,
it's
it is to the people who matter, like, yeah,
correct,
it is to the people
right.
who are making that decision about where they want to come play or coach or whatever. It is to them, maybe not
Yes.
to us, because we don't get to enjoy it. We don't get to use it. It's not for us. So it is to them.
Right. It's not sexy to fans.
Yeah.
It's like nerd shit, right? Like that's kind of the way I would put it. Running down the I'm not going to run down all the list of donors, but you've obviously got the usual suspects here. Of course, Bob and Kathy O'Laughlin put their name on it. You have two anonymous donors, Centene Corporation, Dr. Rich Chaifetz, Joe and Daria Conran, Jim Kavanaugh on WWT. You've got the Wool family, Scott Highmark and his wife, Dr. Bob and Cinda Ryan. I'm curious though, anonymous donor. Um, what what are the pros and cons of why would somebody donate anonymously? I clearly don't have enough money to donate and put my name on it, let alone anonymously.
I'm not in the donor class. I don't necessarily know the entire thought process behind it. I would have a hard time not wanting to put my name on it. I know that much.
Oh yeah, I'm an
Um,
egomaniac.
but I think the answer to your question is probably in that episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm. Don't know if you watched that show, but there's a pretty great episode about Larry being one of the top two donors on for some nonprofit, and the other one is anonymous, but he's going around and telling everybody that it was him, so he's getting all the accolades. But anyway, maybe that's one reason. I honestly have no idea, but whoever it is, big thank you. And it's pretty great that they all got together and made this thing happen.
Uh, let's say you're a student athlete. What part of this are you most excited for? Let's throw out soccer and basketball ops suites. What interests you the most if you were a student athlete?
Um, what would interest me the most? I mean, my mind always immediately goes to food, so so probably
Uh,
along those lines.
I'm there with you.
Although there are things in here like I know they're like the student success suites, and there's different names for all this stuff, but apparently there are some pretty good resources in terms of like taking the next step, whether they're going to play professionally in their sport or go on to a different career. I would have liked to have that kind of hands-on career guidance as I was graduating, because I was just absolutely clueless at the time. So I think probably day to day the food aspect, but my brain is saying I probably could have used some more academic resources in there. How about you?
I also think about food constantly. But no, I think you make a really, really good point as far as that the career guidance type center. I think that's huge. And I think that's going to be big time for players. Everyone you see that's come through the basketball program, we dealt with like Jordan Goodwin or, TJ, where everyone's tweeting at him, league them. Like, you got to get to the league. Like, that's big for someone who has those serious aspirations to get to the professional ranks. So I can see that being absolutely a massive part of this development.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, Chaifetz Arena, St. Louis University announced that they a policy update, health and safety protocols. Um, Masks are going to be required, except when eating or drinking. Uh, I think to a lot of people's surprise, no vaccination requirement. This is a continuation of SLU, consistently following a policy of adhering to city mandates when it comes to health and safety protocols regarding attendance at Chaifetz Arena.
Yeah, I think in terms of following those mandates, I think by now we're all conditioned to know that it's subject to change at any time. So I guess the advice I would have to people is just be prepared for things to change throughout the season. Like um, they're going to, player safety and coaches and students, and they're going to want to keep everybody safe. So just be prepared for whatever. There also are some other new rules this year about bags and things like that. So definitely before you go down on I guess it'll be tonight when this airs, if you're going down to see Rockhurst or any other game whenever you're going this season, be sure and look at the updated policies so you don't get any rude surprises at the door in terms of like bags or any other updated policies.
Yeah, and I think this is the maybe the second year that we have full attendance where it's electronic ticket only. I think it's one of the first years we're going fully electronic. So make sure you test out that your phone capabilities for electronic tickets. And worst case scenario, I guarantee you the ticket office will be likely to make some workaround for you if you do not have a smartphone. And if you're listening to this without a smartphone, I mean, thank you for really going out of your way to find this. I don't know how you pulled that off, but yeah. So going on to Chaifetz, make sure you review all those policies. Let's see. We'll get right into men's basketball. First of all, we are going to kick it over to our interview with CJ Moore, basically talking about his article about the life and what Ford Stuen brought to St. Louis University and everybody he interacted with in general. So we're going to kick it over to CJ Moore, our interview with him right now. All right, Billiken fans, joining the podcast now is CJ Moore. He's been covering college basketball since 2011. He's been with Bleacher Report, CBSSports.com, Basketball Prospectus. He's the co-author of Beyond the Streak, a behind-the-scenes look at Kansas's record-setting run of Big 12 titles. And just this past week, he released an article in The Athletic, "The Death of Beloved St. Louis Assistant Ford Stuen Changes the Billiken's Journey." It's CJ Moore. CJ, welcome to the podcast. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for the wonderful article on Ford, who I consider a personal friend.
Well, I appreciate you having me on and continuing to spread the word. And it was a tough one to write. I mean, I didn't know him, but just thinking of the circumstances and going down there and meeting everybody and being around the people that did know him. And it was just, some things hit you different. And that was one that just like, it's hard to imagine. It's never easy to lose a young person in this world, but obviously he was a special dude. And so on top of just the tragedy, just the, I got the sense by the end of reporting this one that like I did know him. So definitely one that I wanted to be good, just because you put pressure on yourself because you feel like you've got a great story here and it's an important one, and so I hope people enjoyed it, and it brought some kind of joy to people and about a very sad topic.
You mentioned that, you felt like you knew him after writing the article. And I think that's how a lot of people felt when they got to interact with him for however brief. They felt like they knew him and they felt that he was their friend at that point. So
Mhm.
I think you captured it perfectly there. How did you end up coming across the story and end up writing this article? You said you're out of Kansas City. How did that come about?
Yeah, I this preseason, like this summer, just throwing out a lot of ideas to my editors, and this was one that I'll be honest, when it happened at the time, I don't know if I heard about it. I mean, everything was so wild in the spring. Um, I think it's one that like didn't come across my um, you know world at that time, and but just reading about, since I'm in Kansas City, I try to keep somewhat tabs on everybody that's within driving distance, and sometimes it's easier to go report on something if it's close. So that was just, I was like, whoa, well, first of all, I knew St. Louis had a really good start last year, and I knew, I watched some of their games early on, and I knew COVID really hit them hard, in that they returned some pretty good pieces. So originally, I'm thinking, I'm looking, I'm looking on SLU, and I'm like, well, here's a team that it really hit hard and like could really have a bounce back year next year. Then, as I start reading about them, I come across the Ford story. So that, when I went down there, I didn't know if it would be mostly Ford or if he would just be a part of it. But as I did the reporting and talked to people, it became pretty clear to me, like, this needs to be the story. Like, I didn't feel like like, I think, it had been written before and other people had done it, but I felt like I could really, really, really sink my teeth into, and really tell kind of the full picture. And we've got the ability to take a little more time on things, and got the space to write it. So I wanted to kind of show people what he was like. And have to give props to I felt when I got home, I had great stuff, and but I wanted to, because he was a letter writer, like I wanted to find people that he wrote letters to, right? And I came across one of my colleagues, CJ Holmes, who covers Philadelphia schools for us. Like right after I was there, I was going through his Twitter, because he'd asked our team to tweet something out. So I go to his bio, and there at the top is a pinned tweet that says, I think it says, Ford lives forever, something like that, and the video I had in the story of him singing the Adele song. And so I reached out to CJ. I was like, "Did you know Ford? Like, what's the deal here?" And CJ and him were at the IMG in Florida together. We're on the same team for a year. And then they were part of, CJ was one of the ones, I feel weird saying CJ over and over again because that's my name, but anyway, CJ Holmes and Rim Backamus, who played at Gonzaga, who I know really, really well, were the guys that started the walk-on fraternity. I don't know if you know about the walk-on fraternity, but it's a group of walk-ons that I mentioned them in the story that, have kind of joined had this network, and Ford was one of the guys that was on their text thread, and a lot of those guys got to know. So he sent out a message to the walk-on group and said, "Hey, like, any of you guys received letters from Ford before?" Rim had, I kind of talked to Rim on the side, and then a couple of the guys I talked to in the story had. I thought that added something to it as well, like just being able to hear these guys that like didn't have like a super tight connection to Ford as far as like and didn't play on the same team or anything like that, but like just these random dudes that their worlds came intersected in some kind of way, and he made it a point to like really become friends with them. And like I wrote in the story, like Ford didn't have any acquaintances. I think like if you knew Ford, like you were tight with him.
So he's a guy in his 20s who is writing, handwritten letters to everybody. As a writer, do you feel like that's something that really resonated with you extra with his story?
Yeah, because it's old school, man. Like
Yeah, it's a lost art.
I like that he I like that he was a guy that picked up the phone and called people. Like I'm only 37, which I guess that's getting up there a little bit now, but like I've always been like the type to I like to pick up the phone and call people. I don't like to text. Like if I can, I want to pick up the phone, I want to talk to you. So that there just those little things like that kind of I was like, man, Ford's some type of guy that I could be tight with. Like I like that because yeah, most kids in their people in their 20s are men, right? But they're kids, right? In some kind of way, like you're still a kid when you're in your 20s almost. And like I think he had a maturity to him and kind of an old soul that that came across to me as when people were talking to him. So I wanted to kind of try to get that across in the story, and I thought the letters thing was a big part of that.
Yeah, it's funny as you keep talking about him and describing him, I'm realizing more and more that I think I liked him so much because he was the antithesis of me in a way. Just gets it in every facet of life, like has that maturity beyond his years. And I'm just, I kind of float around, and he goes out and takes what he wants and, works hard for it and everything. So it did kind of inspire me in that way to try to do better. I think. You mentioned the bracelets with his favorite quotes. Some offices or some items around the office that still have his name on them, and a few quotes from coaches and players about what they learned from him. Did you notice any other signs of Stuen's lasting impact in the program, or are there any other details that didn't make it in this story but stuck with you?
Yeah, they Fred Thatch, right?
Mm-hmm.
Thatch. He has tattooed on his arm, and I think I had it in there at some point, but I think maybe it got cut. I'm not sure, but he has the journey as a reward underneath a tattoo of Kobe. Several guys have several of the assistants and Travis as well have the FS tattooed to their wrist. And I think his wife does, his parents. So a lot of their family got the FS. But the inside the office, I kind of hit on some of those for Phil. Like he's kind of kept it like it was in a way. But other than that, like I think just he's still like on the minds and hearts of those guys. Like he's still very much a part of their journey. And even if it's not like a symbolic like tattoo or thing like that, like I think that they're going to be thinking about him a lot, and I think he's a guy that really, really connected with a lot of those players and meant a lot to him.
When you talk about the players, you mentioned that you have a few specific quotes from Thatch and a couple others, but you also talk about how they also mentioned his fashion and like he loved gear and everything like that. Did you also get the sense from them that this was a pretty weighty thing? I mean, I know for me and a lot of my friends, I'm a year older than you, it sounds like, and a lot of us have young kids, and this one it hit so many of us so hard, whether we knew him or had met him or not. And I'm wondering how the players seemed struck by it when you were talking to them.
Yeah, I think it was hard to for them to fathom that it was real,
Yeah.
Because he was such a young, fit dude,
Right.
just about to have his first son. I think it was really, really hard for them to they had a meeting right after it happened. I think they were just shell shocked. I still think that there's part of them, that's like that. But I'm sure, the coaches and the older folks, I think it hits maybe a little harder. I don't know, just because I kept thinking about I have a similar situation to where I married in. When I married my wife, she already had a son who's my son now, but similar to Ford with Lucy. And I got to think when we had and then we have a son together, Henry, who is now 6. And, what went through my mind, and I think we had Henry when I was 30. So, he was 29, about to have his first son. So like what kept going through my mind is like, what if my wife had lost me, or the opposite, if I had lost her, like right before our son was born. Like I just can't, like that's just a worst nightmare type thing. So like I feel so much for his wife and that family, and like I can't imagine missing out on like these last 6 years, and that just hits you hard. Like that's why, like, it was just, I got home from that trip and it's just like, man, like, I don't know if I can write this, like it's just, it does. It really hits you hard. Everything about it is sad, but just the fact that he was like a few months away from his son being born. It's just, life is not fair sometimes. That's one of those things. It's just like, that is not right.
Yeah, muted. What's it like? We sat down with Travis Ford, and I think we touched on it briefly. We didn't really get into it, but I'm curious, getting into the weeds that far into something so emotional and so deeply personal. What does that, do you have any reservations when you start? Or like, do you have to kind of, I don't know. It just seems like it's a tough thing to wade into. I'm curious of how you handle that.
It's I told this to both Phil and Travis. It is such a weird job that you ask these people questions that in casual conversations, like, having just met them a day before, like you would never ask these people, right? And so like that's such a weird part about the job of a reporter, is asking people these deeply personal questions. And like I kind of apologized and thanked them at the end of the interview, like for being so open with me, and for like, because it brings up, it was emotional for both of them. Like Travis, like was like this, and kind of got teary through a couple times. And sometimes when you're doing these interviews, like you have to be okay with silence for a little bit and just kind of let them, like, a lot of times silence is uncomfortable for people, but you learn that you just have to kind of let it sit there, and like let them, don't just keep trying to talk and like make it so it's not uncomfortable. You just have to, they'll, at some point they're going to start talking, and it's like, this is hard, and it's going to take a little while, right, to get you want to get to. But he Travis in particular said, he said, I'm glad you come. I was actually, I was really happy that you were coming, and you were going to do this story. And so he was really great with it. And but yeah, it's hard because you don't, like, it's not a comfortable thing to ask them about this thing that is so deeply personal and so sad, and brings back these memories of, a time that was really, really hard in their life, and it's still super fresh. So yeah, that part of it's hard too.
In addition to being, a young, energetic coach who's out on the road recruiting, who's obviously helping out in practices, in scouting and everything, preparation for games. It seems like he had some kind of subtle roles on the team. Like he was kind of that mediator between players and Coach Ford. Ford, who's never been an assistant coach his entire life. He only knows how to be a head coach. Mm-hmm. And now he's got his nephew there to kind of, be a middleman between him and some other people, who's not afraid to tell him, an uncomfortable truth every now and then. He's also a guy who really appreciated, getting these guys the nicest gear possible that they could have, within SLU's budget. Yeah. Did you notice any other kind of, maybe roles that he might have had on the team that wouldn't stand out to a more casual fan?
Travis mentioned that he's somebody that's really emotional in both ways, right? And Ford was somebody that multiple people said, like, he never got too high and too low. And so I think having that someone on your staff like that can like put things in perspective for not only the coach but also the players is helpful. But yeah, I think he was the type of guy that found some kind of connection with every single person he was around. And so I think he did that with a lot of the players. I didn't get to talk to all of the guys while I was there, but like I've gotten messages from, like, I got a message from Evan Daniels, who's now a scout, covered recruiting for a long time. And he said that he's a big wine guy. Ford was a big wine guy, and they used to send each other like pictures of bottles that they were drinking. And he said when he like quit his job with 24/7 and went to become an agent, like Ford had sent him a really, really nice bottle of wine. Those were just the type of things he did for people. And one of the walk-on guys that I talked to, like same thing, like they'd send pictures of wine, and one of them was a big sneakerhead as well, and so they talk shoes all the time and stuff like that. So I think he just was the type of person that like found something to connect with each person, and I think he did that with everybody in the program, whether it was coaches like Corey Tate. They had coffee was their big thing, right? Like or players. I think he found something with each one of them.
Yeah, I was gonna say the coffee thing. I after the memorial, I stopped by the Starbucks by SLU. It's the Starbucks is the building that Starbucks inhabits now is a famous building in the area. But I took one sip. I said, "I'm sorry, Ford. That's my last sip of coffee. It was for you, and it'll be my last one. I am not a coffee guy, so I can respect those guys how much they love their coffee, because I can't acquire the taste." So no, I want to thank you again for writing this article. It really was beautiful. I was wondering if you had a chance to get to know or get to speak with his family at all. I mean, I got to briefly interact with them back in, I think it was August, and just unbelievable people.
Yeah, I asked I asked if I could talk to Courtney, and I never really got an answer. I don't know if I would have had more time, if I would have gotten with her at some point. When I was there, she was in Florida with Travis's wife. So yeah, I wasn't able to talk to her, but Travis sent me a note after that like it meant a lot to the family and stuff like that. So that was good. But yeah, I wasn't able to talk to them, which is okay. Like it's I think Travis spoke for them, and those would have been even harder, conversations, and those are ones that like they would have had to be over the phone, and that's a really hard thing to do. I like a story like this. I want to be able to be there and be able to look somebody in the eye and talk to them about it. So I think it worked out.
Yeah, I think the takeaway from me for sure, and it sounds like all of us are kind of on the same page there, is that he's a guy who appreciates the little things and understands how far those go. And it's like a constant reminder to me that you can do a little bit better, remembering people, reaching out to people, keeping them close, and just makes everybody around you all the more richer for it. So yeah, I mean, this was a really great piece, and we appreciate the attention on the program and getting his story out there.
Well, thank you guys for having me on and bringing attention to it, and hopefully a few more SLU fans will go give it a read, or non-SLU fans too, if they or somehow. I'm guessing it's all SLU fans they're tuning in here, but you never know.
It has the podcast has a very niche market. We are moderately successful in a niche market. We'll put it that way.
That's no worries. I feel like I'm an indie band sometimes,
Yeah, for sure. Hey, before we let you go, we do have one more, kind of unrelated question, because, kind of looking through some of your bylines, I noticed you kind of have an interest in conference realignment and write about different scenarios on occasion.
Where are we going?
Well, I mean, sometimes you write like, hey, if I were to blow it up and do it all over, what would that look like? And sometimes it's kind of like, what could be realistic in the near term. I'm just kind of wondering what you see happening next with conference realignment. SLU always seems to be in a conference that's getting either picked away at or growing or whatever. Do you think SLU or the A10 could be impacted by anything that's going on now?
Well, the American made their moves, which were interesting.
Yeah, you're right.
I think I compared it to that scene in Moneyball where Brad Pitt is explaining that they need to replace it, Jason Giambi in the aggregate.
Yeah.
Like that's what they were like. What? And nobody else gets it. And everybody in college basketball are the old head scouts. That's us. And
Yeah, no, I hate conference realignment. It's the worst. As far as SLU goes, like if the Big East were to ever expand, seems like a school that would make sense for them. And I'm sure you guys wouldn't mind getting over in the Big East.
Yeah, I mean we've been hammering that drum since like what 2005 or whenever that first happened.
I think I was in 8th grade. So
yeah, it was the year I graduated. I graduated in 05, and the next year we went to the A10.
Yeah, I mean it's a school that's you've got some similarities with Creighton, which has worked out pretty well. In the biggest Creighton, their arena is freaking giant, but I think it's similar there. So maybe the Big East, if they ever decide to expand a little bit, I think they kind of like their little niche they've got going here. I don't think they're in a rush to like expand. But yeah, I think the A10 probably sticks together just because it's kind of unique. Football isn't there to really ruin it, but
right.
So, I like the fact that what the A10 is and that it's pretty much been able to stick together.
Yeah. We think it's a good fit, the best fit for us, at the moment,
I would move I would get a couple schools a little bit west of the current geocentric or central of the A10. I think I just made all those words up. All right. Time to go to bed. No, thank you again so much, CJ, for coming on the podcast. Very gracious with your time. Thank you so much. And thank you for the article.
Yep. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Take it easy.
Thanks.
All right. Thank you to CJ Moore for joining the podcast. And thank you again for the wonderful article about Ford Stuen. Some news on the name and image likeness front for the Billikens. Fred Thatch is really diving headfirst into this.
Yeah, he's been really, really smart about it so far. Did the camp right away, and now this. And I think it's probably going to sell all right down in Sykeston. He's Mr. Sykeston down there. He's a popular guy, and for anybody who watched the new facility, the O'Loughlin Champion Center announcement, Thatch got up there. I think he was the only guy who did not, aside from the donors, but who had prepared remarks and no notes in front of him. He just got up there, looked everybody straight in the eyes, and he just looked so well prepared and smart and interesting. So yeah, there's no reason to believe he's not going to have a little bit of success with this. I really like the bulldog. His little logo looks good. It's a nice little rollout here.
Yeah, it's really, it looks really like premium type merchandise. He's releasing gear with his own logo on fredthatchmerch.com. He's got a nice logo. It's the FT logo. And I guess it's Fear That is one of the slogans, and also a bulldog logo. One cool thing that I saw when going over this is the milestone merch. It's basically a locked design on a t-shirt that they'll only sell 50 of, and it'll only be released if Fred Thatch scores 20 plus points in a game or gets a double-double. I like the Fear That slogan, and I like the bulldog logo, like you said. We're going to have more coverage of this down the line, and that's what we'll leave you with for now. But it's very cool for Fred, and I really hope it does sell, and he can reap the full benefits of the name and image likeness.
Yeah, really exciting. And like you said, we got more coverage of that coming up soon.
Theme tickets. The PD Cottilli and the marketing crew are wading into the waters that a lot of baseball teams have been doing for a long time now. What can you tell fans about theme tickets?
Yeah, so they've got these. It's like a special. You can buy a ticket in the 200 level. What is it, $15? And every single one, it's for basically every game, and every single one of them comes with something special, a promo item. And I think the most important part just got answered the other day. Season ticket holders do have the ability to buy this stuff separately. So if you've already got your tickets, don't worry, you'll still be able to get in on these items if you want to. But yeah, it's a nice little slate of things that they're offering casual fans to come to the game.
Yeah, I think it's $15 tickets and then $15 for the on top of it. Maybe I'm not exactly all that sure on it.
Yeah, I think you're right. Sorry,
Yeah.
I said that wrong.
No big deal. But I know there is a lot of cool stuff. I'm finding the flyer now.
Yeah, so they say starting at 30. So I think that's it's the combined price. I think $15 is what the season ticket holders can pay on top or something like that. But they've got like a winter hat that's actually pretty nice looking. They've got a beach towel.
I want that beach towel.
I do too, actually. They've got a couple different replica jerseys on different games, a hoodie, fanny pack, socks. So it's pretty cool. It looks like about every other game. I don't know if they're going to add more later, but it's a nice idea.
Lost in the shuffle of everything, we have a Travis Ford bobblehead giveaway that I don't think anybody's talking about.
Yeah, I feel like I'm going to have to get one of those too for my desk at work when I'm back in the office.
December 18th versus Auburn. Travis Ford bobblehead giveaway. There will be a free Billiken socks. It looks like, but that's only for SLU students. But the theme ticket is Billiken socks. So the students will get the socks for free, but you got to do the theme ticket for the socks for regular fans. So that's kind of a bummer, I guess. But you got to do what you got to do, Billiken fans.
Yeah, I think the bottom line here is don't just like show up at a game this year, like kind of look into it ahead of time, because it seems like they're doing something fun for pretty much every game, and there might be a nice promo or bonus or something for you. So definitely keep an eye on their social media before you head down to games this season.
Yeah, it looks like the Billiken Blizzard will be February 5th versus Dayton, and I'm looking for the Blue Out. I'm not seeing it, but it will be VCU March 5th, which will also be senior day. So very cool. Very cool. Cannot wait to kick both those teams' asses. Shots fired across the bow.
I like it.
Yep. No stream for the exhibition games. What do you think, man? Do you land on this? Are you annoyed by this, upset about this? Or is it just kind of like, it's an exhibition game. I get it.
I mean, I get it. I would really like it. I'm because I'm 350 miles away. So it would definitely come in handy for me. I would take even the house feed, with no box score and no announcers, anything like that, because I know I can follow the box score online. So yeah, I'm a little bummed, but I certainly get if they don't have the resources to make it happen for these games. Understanding.
Absolutely. The two exhibition games this week, Rockhurst, led by Drew Diener, as most of you will know, a Division II opponent. They finished 2021 season with a record of 9-13 in the Great Lakes. No, not Great Lakes. Good Lord. The GLVC conference. And it was a conference only schedule for them. And then the Billikens will have Lindenwood this coming Sunday. They finished last season with a 10-9 record, and they also played a conference only schedule. They'll have exhibitions this season, not only against St. Louis University, but also Northwestern. Pete, do we really need to talk about Rockhurst anymore? I think we enjoyed a little preview with Drew.
Yeah, go check out our interview with Coach Drew Diener. It sounds like they're a program that's kind of in transition right now. He thinks his best player is their big man. So the matchup between him and our bigs will be probably the one to watch, but we should have a pretty serious advantage at guard and pretty much everywhere else. Like I said, they're kind of in transition. They lost a lot of guys. They brought some new guys in, and they've got some injury problems right now. So yeah, that's about all there is to say about this one. It'll be just a good chance to finally get a look at our team and what they look like without Goodwin and French.
Yeah, I think worst case scenario for the Billikens in this one is Rockhurst makes a lot of threes and has a lot of long rebounds and gets a lot of free looks at three. And I think the disaster scenario for Rockhurst is that Okoro, Linson, and I guess Traore just dominate the glass and they can't do anything on the inside. So those are the kind of nightmare scenarios for both teams. I think we can move on. We talk women's basketball, not a lot to talk about. They will not open up their season or their preseason until November 3rd, and that'll be against Illinois Springfield. And we will take time on our next show to discuss that. And we should be back to our regular schedule next week. So keep an eye out for the women's basketball season starting up next month. Men's soccer, your 2021 A10 regular season champion Billiken men's soccer team, Peter.
Yeah, that's something that I had kind of forgotten going into this game was like, oh yeah, this is the clincher, because there's now only one game left, but only two going into this one, and George Washington's a bottom half team. So I was kind of looking at it like, okay, it's our last road game. Let's just kind of take care of business. And only during the game did it occur to me like, oh yeah, this is for the title. And the reason that's an even bigger deal this year is because the conference tournament format, the home field goes to the stronger seed. So SLU will play every game, whether that's 1, 2, or 3 games in the conference tournament at home. So that's really important. In addition to just getting, the win in this game itself.
Yeah, I think the second most important thing we need to talk about when it comes to the men's soccer team is the continued just darts that John Klein plays to his teammates that allow them for easy finishing.
Yeah, so this I think the tweet that we've been most liked and retweeted on ever is when you tweeted a picture of Yuri Collins next to a picture of John Klein and said same energy, and people loved that. That's definitely like for those who know, but people who got it really got it. He is an incredible distributor, and in this 4-0 win at George Washington, he had 3 assists. The first 2 both came kind of within 3 or 4 minutes of each other early in the second half off of set pieces. And, the first one finished by Mason Leaf, and then the second by Chase Neese. And when we got that second in such short order, the game really broke open. It was really those few minutes, because the first half, SLU came out strong, had like 6 shots on goal in the first 20 or so minutes, and then really nothing the whole, if you want to call it, the second quarter of the game. So a lot of back and forth, a lot of turnovers. Neither team could really get anything going. Nobody threatened. It was really a kind of a boring first half after SLU's initial efforts. And then in pretty quick order in the second half, you've got this Klein free kick to Leaf, and then the second one that Neese put in. And in between there, I think George Washington picked up their 3rd yellow card, and SLU had another scoring chance kind of mixed in there. So the game just all of a sudden completely broke open. And then Klein actually assisted on the 4th goal of the game as well, once again to Leaf. Just incredible. He's up to 15 assists now, which is number 1 in the entire country.
Yeah, I think this there was a lot of swagger with this team in this game, and it felt like when you were playing a video game back in the day and you were trying for a double double, like in NBA, like 2004, where you just like you had like Steve Nash and you would just make sure you got him an assist, like just get it to Nash and then throw it to somebody that you know will make the shot. Like it was like this team was trying as hard as they could to pump up John Klein's numbers, and that he was on every free kick, which I mean he has been in general, but it really felt like they were really trying to put him in as many positions to get an assist as possible.
We've talked a lot about the confidence level on this team, and I think every time they line up um, with him with Klein set up for a set piece, and they're anywhere close to the goal, I think they have a really high level of confidence that he's going to serve them up something they can use. And this team really does finish. Really, just great to see. The other goal here was it was actually a Kevin Commodi assist across the goal mouth that Betcher put away, just very confidently, smoothly. He kind of had to slide and just put it right in. I love the way he finishes. But I think every time Klein is serving in a ball, these guys are just ready for it, and it just looks so natural.
Yeah, I think early in the season I was questioning the defense of our opponents, and as the season progresses, I'm starting to think that it's John Klein and not the defense.
Yeah,
It-
I haven't seen anybody who's like this, this good with the setting up his teammates since probably Brad Davis. I watching Davis work the midfield when I was at SLU was really something to watch, and we scored a ton in those 2 seasons that he was here.
You mentioned somebody as good at setting up their teammates as John Klein, and it bears mentioning that John Klein now has 15 assists on the season. He is 5 behind Matt McKeon at 20, with 1 regular season game and hopefully at least 3 conference, at least 4 more games after the Rhode Island game upcoming. So it is conceivable that John Klein could eclipse Matt McKeon. I'm not going to say it's going to be easy or a foregone conclusion because it's nowhere near that, but he definitely has a shot. Running down the scoring, just again, 4-0 win at George Washington. Mason Leith in the 54th minute with a really nice backflip celebration to cap that one off. 57th minute, Chase Neese with the nice finish off the John Klein assist. Simon Betcher in the 79th minute from Kevin Commodi. Mason Leith gets his second of the game in the 82nd minute. Again, John Klein with the assist. And with his 3 assists in this game, John Klein is named to the College Soccer News National Team of the Week. A great honor for Mr. Klein being named to that team. Coming up, the Billikens will take on Rhode Island on the 30th. Rhode Island comes in this game 9-3-2, 5-1-1 in conference. Last time out, 3-1 win versus LaSalle. Pete, what do you got on Rhode Island?
Rhode Island's really good. They're alone in second place in the conference. Early on, we saw some really good wins from teams like Davidson and Dayton and VCU. And Rhode Island, I think, over the course of this conference season, has kind of established itself as the second best team for sure. They've played pretty much everybody close. Their only losses came to Albany in double overtime. Then they started the conference season on the road at Davidson and lost 2-1 down there. The only other loss was 2-0 to Hofstra to open up the season. Hofstra, they tied Providence. Those are teams that have kind of been flirting with the rankings all season long. They're probably both in that kind of 25 to 50 range. This team beat VCU in double overtime, tied UMass in double overtime, and pretty much won everything else. So they're a really solid team, and they're coming off of a 3-1 win against LaSalle. They're playing some really good soccer right now, so not to be overlooked.
Yeah, that win against LaSalle, Patrick Agyemang was named A10 Player of the Week for his performance in that game. 1 goal, 1 assist. He is their scoring leader. 7 goals, 4 assists with 18 total points. Gotta wonder how he was named A10 Player of the Week and not John Klein or Mason Leith. Kind of bizarre for me, anyway.
Well, SLU can't hog all the individual awards this season, so they got to throw somebody a bone every now and then.
Yeah. And you mentioned that 2-1 win versus number 22 VCU. The A10 championship will kick off on November 6th. And like you said, SLU will host how many ever games they will play in that tournament. Women's soccer, for as exciting as the men's team has been, the women's soccer team, I think, has been equally kind of disappointing. They drop a 1-0 overtime loss at Rhode Island in the 93rd minute on a Claire Ross goal assisted by Layla Rosenthal. Not what you expected. Am I right, Peter?
Yeah, this is like with on the men's side, Rhode Island is a good team. But I think we can't forget that SLU came into this season supposed to win this conference, running away with it. Expectations were really high. It hasn't worked out. They are at the point now where they will not finish the season with a losing record no matter what happens. They're 1 game over 500 right now.
Shocking.
7-3 in conference. But yeah, if you had told me 3 months ago that that's what this team would look like at this point, I never would have believed you. So yeah, a little disappointing, and they just don't finish. I don't know how to explain it. Even in their win, their previous game that they won, they just they put in a lot of shots just right at the goalie. They didn't challenge the goalie a whole lot. This was the Richmond game that they won 1-0, by the way. So they wind up. Katie Shields called it a really inefficient win. So I think she was pleased with how they played in the second half of that one, but just called it inefficient. I think that's kind of what they've struggled with all season. They dominate the box score in every column except where it counts. And I don't know how to explain it.
Yeah, it's kind of you beat your head against the wall getting on the podcast and talking about it every week. And I think you said as much off the pod that it's tough to just come on and say the same things over and over. It's legitimate insanity at this point.
Yeah, and I mean, this was a game. It was decided early in overtime, but again, SLU outshot them 16-6, 8-2 on goal. 8-2 on corner kicks. You don't know what else to say except they just have to finish. It's almost like they get to the goal box and the last touch is the weakest one. So I don't know what that is. I think maybe Hannah Larson's absence is a pretty big one this year, but it's definitely more than that.
Yeah. So looking at the first round games for the Atlantic 10 tournament, VCU will host St. Joe's. UMass will host St. Bonaventure. That's the 4 versus 5 matchup. Dayton, number 2 Dayton will host number 7 Richmond, and St. Louis will host Rhode Island. So back to back, that'll be an interesting dynamic, I think, for sure. And I think SLU will be looking for blood in that game.
Yeah, I like this as a first round matchup. Obviously, I would have rather had the 2 seed to guarantee home field in the next game, which they'll only have now if Richmond upsets Dayton. And of course it's Dayton, that's on the same side of the bracket, the team that SLU seems to play more than anybody else in this conference. Would have liked them on the other side of the bracket as well. But in terms of a first round matchup, I do like this one. They'll be able to look at this game tape and it's all fresh in their minds. And now they get to turn it around and do it at home. So feel good about the first round. I don't know about the second yet, though.
Yeah, you know what? I'll be a contrarian and say I'm actually happy to see Dayton on this side and not VCU, because of historical success and recent historical success. So I will say I think they've got a better draw as far as that goes.
Yeah.
Volleyball. They took home 2 wins this week. A 3-0 win at George Washington, 25-20, 25-21, 25-16. Maya Taylor with 16 kills. Delaney Rice pitched in 14 kills, and Opperly had 38 assists. You go to Washington D.C. You take care of business against the Colonials. You watch the men's soccer team win the A10 regular season crown. Then you go take on George Mason and you win 3-1, 25-13, 25-16. You lose the third set, 19-25, and you finish off the match 25-15 in the fourth. Maya Taylor again with 19 kills. Rogers had 21 digs, and Opperly with 52 assists. You take care of business against two A10 bottom feeders. I mean, that's what you have to do.
Yeah, had to do it. But Maya Taylor was great. She was named Conference Player of the Week. So 19 kills in both games. I mean, she's just she's a machine out there.
Yeah, I so badly want to find her some help. Just somebody on the other side, maybe a middle blocker that could maybe pitch in more kills. I don't know. The volleyball improves to 14-9, 7-3 in the conference. Not too bad. I will say not too bad. I don't like the loss. I can't remember who. I believe it was a loss to Davidson. I obviously am not a big fan of that one, but 7-3 is not too bad, and it's good enough for second place due to holding a tiebreaker over VCU. So they're putting themselves in a good position, although they dropped their games to Dayton and Davidson. So, and I think VCU as well. So it'll be interesting to see as we go into the final weeks of the season how things go. Upcoming, they have George Mason again, this time at home on the 30th, Fordham on the 5th of November in the Bronx, and then they travel to Rhode Island on the 7th. So more chances to improve their record. I think they should come away 10-3 to finish the season, which will be pretty respectable.
They also have there's also a home match against George Washington in there as well. These four next matches, all four of these teams are the teams that are 5th through 8th, which is the bottom half of the conference. So got to win all four of these.
Absolutely. Field hockey. We've got good news, but first we're going to start with some not so great news. 7-1 loss at Indiana. Only goal scorer for the Billikens, Demi Sahuleka. I've been practicing that one, and I still don't know if I have it right, but I'll roll with it. So apologies to Demi. I can tell you Demi's right. I know that. I got that. But the Billikens go on, and this is I'm really proud of this team for this win. Yes, Central Michigan is awful. However, it is a 3-2 overtime win in which the Billikens go down 2-0 and come back to score 3 straight to win the game.
Yeah, there are a lot of games this season where they're playing somebody so much better, and it's really easy when you're a team that's barely winning at all to kind of get discouraged and kind of pack it up. So no matter who you're playing, to gut out that kind of win is fantastic. And you kind of called it last week too. You were kind of like, I'm looking at the end of this schedule, and I think they're going to do something here. So that's a really nice win.
And by do something, we mean relatively do something.
It's all relative.
But yes.
You look, we said it all year. All you want to see out of this program is just getting better every year, more competitive every year.
Yeah.
So this they have the potential for a nice finish here.
Yep. 39th minute, Lottie Tunison gets the Billikens on the board. Jordan Besor in the 48th minute, and then Demi Sahuleka gets the game winner in overtime in the 75th minute. and gives the Billikens a 3-2 overtime win. The Billikens, you can catch them on the Plus on the 29th of this month. That'll be Friday. And I believe it's either 11 a.m. or 1 p.m. I did not put in the notes because I am a terrible co-host. But the important thing is this: Davidson is 3-13 on the season, 1-5 in conference. A win over Davidson would give the Billikens their first non-last place conference finish in over a decade. Both teams are sitting at 1-5 in conference right now. This is the last game of the season for both teams. Davidson is not good. This is a chance for the Billikens to climb out of the cellar for the first time since I was in college.
Yeah, even though this is, they're just playing not to finish last. It's good to actually have these kind of stakes in a game. It's
absolutely
how often do you have it? The two teams that are both kind of fighting for the same spot in the standings, even if it is second to last, playing each other the last game of the year. So there's good potential there. It's on the road. That's a disadvantage. It is a 3:00 game, by the way.
3:00.
But yeah, I mean, coming off a win, who knows?
Yeah, I'll have to check my work schedule for that one. See if I can't sneak off and put on my Billiken gear and get excited for that one. Cause that's really is going to be fun because I mean, there are stakes like you said, and it's going to, I guarantee you this game is going to be intense because these are women that, have done a lot of losing, and this is their chance to make their mark with the last game. I mean, especially the seniors leaving. So very excited for their chance to kind of make a little bit of a statement, whether, a relative statement. So very exciting. Pete, anything that I missed as far as basketball goes? Because most of the people that listen to us for basketball.
Yeah. I don't think you did miss anything. I think that's pretty much it. I think we covered it, and I'm just really excited that that next show we'll actually be talking about, and pretty much every show here on out we're going to be talking about actual game action. I can't wait to get back into that. You hear us talk about these other sports, and it's clear we don't both know as much about some of these other things, especially
or
something
so
like
we've
field
been
hockey.
told.
Yeah. But when it comes to basketball, we're both we're in it, and it'll be fun to get back into that and actually kind of break this team down.
Did we talk about Rashad Williams ever? Did we ever get into that?
Getting his waiver?
Yeah.
I don't know if we did. It's been kind of one of those.
It kind of went under the radar, didn't it? With the announcement of the new facility and everything.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, then yeah, you did forget something I meant to tell you. You forgot to talk about Rashad Williams waiver.
Yeah. So Rashad Williams got his waiver, granting him immediate eligibility. He did need a waiver because he did not meet the 1-year transfer exception, since he did transfer previously after his freshman year. So he will play this season, and that is big time for men's basketball.
Yeah, and he's listed as a junior as well. So even though he has transferred twice, he's played 3 seasons, and with that COVID bonus year, if you want to call it that, he should have two seasons as a Billiken. So that's a lot of shooting firepower we've got on the floor this season.
Yeah, it's a big time bonus for the Billikens, and alliteration aside, he's going to bring some firepower. So thanks everyone for listening. Thank you to CJ Moore for coming on the show, taking time out to speak with us. And we are going to try to have another short form interview when we release the podcast Monday of next week. So, and that's going to be a surprise. It's scheduled. Hopefully it does not fall through. Fingers crossed. I don't want to speak that into existence. But yeah, that'll be a surprise for you guys when it drops. So again, thank you all for listening. Follow us on social media at Midtown Mad Pod. Subscribe to us wherever you get your podcast, even on YouTube. Go subscribe on YouTube. That's cool as well. Peter is a tweeter on Twitter, and I'm at Zach Miller MMP. Thank you guys again so much for listening. It means the world. So, Pete, go Bills.
Go Bills.